So as you know, in what was it, July of this year, the UK elected in a Labour, like a far leftist Labour commie government after being betrayed by the Conservative Party in the UK for 14 years. So they didn't win because they had some giant mandate. Let me show you this. Keir Starmer wins British general election with record low turnout. Only 60% of eligible voters participated. They won with only 33% of the popular vote. What happened was that the Conservative voters all stayed home because the Conservatives had behaved basically like Labour light, totally betrayed their own voters, Conservative voters in the UK. So he snuck in. So this snake snuck in to power. And, well, he hasn't wasted any time trying to destroy the UK, trying to turn the UK into, into the party from 1984. He hasn't rested in his attempt to try and wreck the UK, to turn it into Airstrip 1. Breaking: petition calling for a general election smashes through 400,000 signatures and is running at an unbelievable rate of 2,000 a minute. The British are standing up en masse. I think that it only needed 100,000 is what the goal was, but it's smashing through. He has proven himself. He's behaving as if he had this rock solid, overwhelming popular mandate, and he did not. His victory was really an illusion in a lot of ways. Yes, they have a majority, but it was the weakest majority you can possibly imagine. It's just your opponents just didn't show up because their own leaders were so terrible. Spambot Fodder says the Labour Party of the UK is implementing 1984 into law, 100%. Let's see. So what's he been up to? So why are people hating him so much? Well, thousands of farmers protest against inheritance tax changes. So what are they doing? They're going after the farmers. They're going after the farmers. They're increasing the inheritance tax on farmers. Let's see, from April 2026, inherited agricultural assets worth more than £1 million, which that's going to be any farm, is going to be worth more than that, which were previously exempt, will be liable to the tax at 20%. 20%. And apparently that's half the usual inheritance tax rate. So if the usual one is 40%, that's crazy. But 20%. So what would be the result of this? What is the goal? Well, the goal really, obviously, is to force small farmers to have to, the families of small farmers who are inheriting a farm, to have to sell it to pay the tax. That's the point. What are they going to do with it? Probably the government wants the land to build giant block houses for all of the immigrants that they're bringing in. They intend to just continue bringing in forever, infinitely. So that's not very popular. You know who makes your food? The farmers do. Terrible idea, but exactly what you would expect from crazy socialists. Let's see. Reform UK lashes out at Labour's disgusting 500 million foreign farmer stash. A spit in the face. So while they're taxing the hell out of British farmers and obviously this is disastrous. They're giving away 500 million pounds to foreign farmers. That's a slap across the face. That's terrible. This is the sort of thing that might make you unpopular. What else we got here? Starmer denies UK at war after Ukraine fires British Storm Shadow missiles into Russian territory. He seems very keen to start World War III, Keir Starmer. He's a huge war hawk, it turns out. A huge war hawk. He's super pro turning the Ukraine-Russia war or special military operation into World War III. Sir Keir Starmer has said that the UK is not at war and suggested there had been irresponsible rhetoric from Russia. Maybe the irresponsible part was allowing Ukraine to use your missiles to shoot into Russian territory. Ukraine has fired British long-range Storm Shadow missiles into Russian territory for the first time. And this is the latest sign of a change in stance from Western countries on involvement in the conflict. And this is after Trump won the election, and he has made it very clear he's going to try and find a negotiated settlement there. This is reckless, heedless, lunatic insanity This is trying to sabotage that. This is an attempt to make sure people will die in large numbers, in the hundreds of thousands, certainly for years to come. Based on this fiction that somehow Ukraine's going to turn it around and win, this doesn't make any sense. This isn't a war of attrition. This is an attritional war. Russia has more of everything. They're going to win. Speaking to BBC Radio Bristol as part of a local radio round on Friday, the 22nd November, Sir Keir Starmer was asked, "Are we at war in relation to the conflict in Ukraine?" No, we're not at war, but Ukraine certainly is, because Ukraine has been invaded by Russia, and that war has now been going on for just over 1,000 days. Okay, so what might Russia's perspective on this be? And I'm not like some like Russia file. I'm just looking at reality. I'm just trying to accurately describe reality here, considering there's 6,000 nuclear warheads on the table, right? I don't know. It just seems kind of sane to remember that, all of those missiles pointed all over cities all over the world. Maybe we don't want to test deterrence as far as it can go. Maybe that's reckless. But from Russia's perspective, if they're getting missiles fired into their territory, British missiles that were given to Ukraine, and is it even Ukraine are there British soldiers in Ukraine that are actually doing the firing? Who knows? If you're from the Russian perspective, you're looking at this and thinking, well, wait a second, you're at very least giving them weapons, missiles to shoot into our country. Like, no, you're at war with us. You're clearly at war with us. Obviously, we would think that if another country was doing the same thing. Obviously, this is crazy. I think starting World War III is not popular with anybody outside the elites. And I don't know why it's popular with them. But again, 400,000 signatures, a rate of 2,000 a minute, petition calling for general election to get rid of this lunatic. Let's see. Oh, do you remember the Southport stabbing that everybody was told, where there's where a lunatic stabbed a bunch of children, and everyone was told it's not terrorism, it's not Islamic. Anybody who says that is a racist. They only would say that because they're racist. But everyone was told, because the assumption was this is like every other time, right? It's Islamic terrorism. They're told, no, you're racist, white supremacist, everybody's evil who says that. Well, the Southport stabbing suspect charged with terror offense and producing deadly poison ricin. What does it say in here? They also found a computer file on an Al-Qaeda training manual titled Military Studies in the Jihad Against the Tyrants. So it turns out it was. The thing that the government said it absolutely wasn't. And if you say it is, you're evil. It was. Not to mention the fact, you've got other things. They've got Tommy Robinson in prison for 18 months now for telling the truth. So I have to make another video on. But that's the state of Britain right now. So they've got a petition calling for a general election. It's not going to happen. I don't think it'll happen. He'll be like Trudeau, just cling on, because the elites like him. It's like the elites like Trudeau, right? He can just cling on until the very last second, until he's pried out of power. I think that's what will happen with Starmer. That's just what these guys are like. That's just what these cretins are like. Anyway, that's all I'm going to say about that. Please like, share, and subscribe. Subscribing really helps me out. I thank you for that. I will see you next time.